And one of my Japanese coworkers told me, "Hey, Eric Sensei, did you hear Akira Toriyama died?" And I was like, "Oh, what? Oh, I didn't know, no." And hello everyone. By the name of the video, you probably know what this is already about. Um, this is about the recent death of Akira Toriyama, the mangaka of famous manga. This is not going to be a deep analysis of the impact on the industry he had as a mangaka. This is not going to be a deep analysis of manga in general, his relevance as a mangaka, etc., etc. I think there are other people who already covers that in depth. I wanted to get this video out because this is something personal for me, as you can see, maybe. Um, this video, if I'm not getting too much into rambling, will probably be a one-shot, as I want to keep it personal and I don't really want to put too much crazy editing into this video. So if you already tuned in, if you're still with me, then you might want to know what I have to say, and that's Akira Toriyama has his work, specifically Dragon Ball, has a very special place for me, and his death hit me very hard. Um, I mean, he's not a relative or friend. I never met the man in person, but his manga Dragon Ball is what got me interested into reading manga, which is what made me follow up on animes, and basically after I finished reading Dragon Ball, I was straight up following reading One Piece, which was at the time where I think One Piece was just one manga volume in. I soon after started reading Naruto, and yes, like I said, these manga themselves were inspired by um, by Akira Toriyama, their respective mangaka. Naruto's mangaka Masashi Kishimoto, and One Piece mangaka Eiichiro Oda, but also other mangaka of famous manga series like Bleach. Of course, they were largely inspired by Dragon Ball, and Dragon Ball the manga got released actually late 80s. That's what many people kind of forget. It's kind of old, and yeah, I'm getting kind of old too, but not that old. Me being 33. Um, I'm I'm born just 90, so basically I'm already not part of the generation that enjoyed Dragon Ball weekly, like Japanese people reading reading Dragon Ball in weekly Shonen Jump on a weekly basis, getting the fresh new chapters. I'm not part of that generation, but still, for me, I grew up possibly actually being introduced through the anime, and then it just got me. I bought all the manga volumes in the bookstore, and followed up on the story. I wanted to be ahead of the anime. um, and yeah, by the way, I didn't like Dragon Ball GT that much. um, I felt like it's not his work, it's not Toriyama's work. I felt like at that point I kind of felt like, hey, it's gotta be the manga. If it's not based on the manga, it ain't real, kinda. So yeah, um, Dragon Ball, the manga that um, influenced me a lot. I would say it's not a manga that made me cry or really like sentimental or emotional while reading it. I mean, it's it's not Naruto to me, and I think that might feel like an insult to some people. I think Dragon Ball does not have the deepest and most complex and philosophical story. It's pretty straightforward, and it was actually laid out as a pretty simple, fun story. And if you know the background of Toriyama, was his first or previous famous manga, Dr. Slump with Arale. It's basically mostly silly stuff. Good, fun, people loved it, but it was mostly silly. And Dragon Ball was, I think, never laid out to be that serious. It started out with just Goku, that monkey boy, obviously based on the Chinese story of Sun Wukong, Son Goku, and his story, his journey, sometimes also known as Journey to the West, where he meets other animals, and basically these characters are basically represented in the funny cast of characters along the pig, Yamchu, the wolf or dog in that case, Bulma. And yeah, I think it started out as a fun story, got a bit more serious with Krillin dying. Yeah, it got more classic shonen-ish. The more it progressed, especially from the time of when we want to talk anime, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Z, when Goku was an adult and the battles started being more what people considered by today's standard classic battle shonen. And yeah, it's still not a deep story. It's not. It's sorry if I sound like I'm slandering Dragon Ball. It's like by no means I love Dragon Ball, but the point I want to make is it was never the deepest story, but still it's probably the manga that on a long total term of my life influenced me the most in many regards. Um, Not just for getting interested into manga in general and then following up on other manga, but I mean just as a manga itself on its own. It's probably the story that influenced me the most. It is the manga that got me interested into manga art and drawing and Japan. It's the story, or rather, Son Goku, the characters of Dragon Ball, also Vegeta, are the ones who got me into wanting to look like them and training and hitting the gym and not being unsporty and a lazy bum physically. I think it's hard to narrow down like how much it really influenced me and how long I really liked Dragon Ball, and was still interested in it even though it was already long over. I mean, basically I started watching Dragon Ball, the anime, maybe in first grade, and then got into the manga and bought all the manga and finished them. I read them by I guess grade 2, end of grade 2. So but even though it's still something that I was so awkwardly fascinated and obsessed with, drawing Dragon Ball characters and talking with classmates who also like Dragon Ball about Dragon Ball, and even though I I've read all the manga already. I enjoyed the anime so much and enjoyed knowing already what's coming next and what's about to happen. Um, and maybe that's also one of the reasons I didn't like Dragon Ball GT back then. It felt like a fraud to me. I know there are so many people who love Dragon Ball GT and the opening song is pretty good. I think they got some really good songs for Dragon Ball GT. They have some good action, but it's like it's kind of fan servicey to me, and I never felt it's a genuine continuation. For me, Dragon Ball was over with the Buu saga. It's not even my favorite saga. I think the Cell saga is my favorite saga. But I already felt the story got stretched out by everything that came after Cell, with Goku basically saying goodbye everyone and him making the commitment to pass the torch on to his Son Gohan. Um, I think Toriyama giving us the Buu saga is not all bad. It's, I mean, we got an amazing additional story. Um, it didn't per se take away from the quality. I mean, it mostly added, but it's still not the best ending, I feel. Nevertheless, um, for me, in my eyes, with Dragon Ball, the main manga ending, that was the ending, and I never expected anything to come after that. So, with Dragon Ball Super having gotten relevant the recent years again, of course I was happy about that. I like it, and I don't disregard it in the same sense as I back then disregarded Dragon Ball GT. I feel Dragon Ball Super is a genuine continuation, even though Toriyama's less involved as back then when he himself drew the base Dragon Ball manga. Um, I still want to follow the manga. I'm grateful for what he delivered and for the manga he created, for the childhood. It's not my whole childhood, makes it kind of sound kind of bleak. It's not like I was a lonely kid under the stairs and just my whole life was just Dragon Ball. That's not it. But I mean, it did shape me in a um, large capacity. And yeah, in this video, that's what I wanted to express. It's not about being the deepest story, but it nevertheless is the story that impacted me the most. And Dragon Ball never once made me cry or sad. Not really. I mean, but but Akira Toriyama being dead did make me sad, and I didn't cry really, but I felt really bad, and I'm living and working in Japan, and one of my Japanese coworkers, told me, "Hey, Eric Sensei, did you hear Akira Toriyama died?" And I was like, "Oh, what? Oh, I didn't know, no." And I mean, news released that information on, I think, the 8th. March 8th, and he died on the 1st of March 2024 this year, due to bleeding in his head. I haven't read up on details or speculations. He was not young, but he wasn't that old. He shouldn't have died that early. I mean, everyone dies at some day in their life. Our childhood heroes and people that inspire us, actors, celebrities, our parents, many people we know and love will at some point die, but of course we wish them a long life, and I would have wished to hear that message, read the news of Akira Toriyama dying 10 years later. I would have wished to hear that in 2034 or maybe 44. I would have wished him a long life, and maybe, who knows, maybe he would have created another piece, another piece of creative art, maybe even a whole manga. Maybe would have liked to get involved more with Dragon Ball again, and I'm deeply sorry and sad, and I think lots of people feel the same. I think lots of fans feel the same way as me. I'm not alone with that feeling, and if you followed me up to this point in the video, then I think you might feel the same way like I do. This is my personal take on Akira Toriyama. Maybe I'll follow up with a video where I talk about, yeah, what his impact on the industry was, but I don't feel adding anything in that regard right now. I just wanted to have out my personal feelings towards this, as this channel is about manga. I talk about new release chapters. I was very busy the last week, sorry, and due to work and starting new project, I wasn't really able to upload anything for the last months on this channel, but I wanted really to have this video out. And again, thank you for tuning in. Have a nice day, and I appreciate you all. Bye.